Yo, what up, Night Nation? Wanted to do a quick video on the ongoing QB competition for QB1. Obviously, we're just about 3 weeks away from the 2022 season. All eyes are on this competition. This is the first QB battle that UCF has had since 2019, when it was, presumably between DG, Brandon Wimbush, and even Daryl Mack before he ended up getting injured, and then more so Wimbush and DG. This is probably one of the most tightly contested QB battles in recent memory for UCF. It really does truly seem to be neck and neck. You have the incumbent starter, Mikey Keene, who has the advantage of knowing the playbook, being in Gus Malzahn's system for a year, starting 10 games, already developed chemistry with some of his skill players that were on the team last year, obviously knows the offense really well. Made improvements over the course of last year when he was thrown into the fire as a true freshman. Then you have JRP, John Rhys Plumlee, who came in from Ole Miss, obviously highly recruited by Gus Malzahn. He was recruited by Malzahn when he out of high school when he was the coach at Auburn, and now obviously finally got his guy and had him transfer over from Ole Miss. Keene and Plumlee have two completely different styles of play. Keene is more I guess known or more apt passer than Plumlee. Is I guess a better pocket presence. Has a better arm. And then JRP is clearly the better athlete. His speed can't be messed with. Clearly way faster than Keene, just a better overall athlete, more of the dual threat quarterback, can make plays with his legs, which is something that Keene did not do last year. We did not see him, extend plays with his feet. We did not see him, be able to rush and get yards and get first downs with his legs. And when you look at historically at Gus Malzahn's offenses, he likes those dual threat guys, whether it's Cam Newton, Nick Marshall, the list goes on of guys that he likes that can make things happen with their legs. And also, he clearly is recruited Plumlee, right? Keene came in as a Heupel recruit, a holdover obviously from that staff, not handpicked or not hand selected by Gus. So, I think there's advantages and disadvantages for both quarterbacks, and this is what's making it such a tight battle. Let's start with Keene. I put in my post. He's just showing the better arm right now than JRP. He has, the better pocket presence. He has the year of experience under his belt. He knows the playbook, played in Gus Malzahn's system for a year, has the chemistry with his teammates, developed a chemistry with Ryan O'Keefe, developed a chemistry with Isaiah Bowser, knows the offensive lineman. So he has, from last year looked like that kind of game manager. Limited his mistakes for the most part as the year went on. Remember, he was just an 18-year-old freshman, only 19 now. He's that type of guy that's going to limit those mistakes. He only had 6 picks. I think 3 of them came in like the first 2 or 3 games. So he really did improve over the course of the season. So, he just makes those correct decisions, knows where to go with the ball, knows his reads, doesn't hesitate, and it's just that better pocket presence. Disadvantages: we don't know, how strong his arm were. There were a couple passes that were last year that were ducks, or ones that weren't just that pinpoint kind of hit your receiver type of pass in stride. So it was more, we're wondering, is he the guy that can really make those dynamic plays, or is he more just that game manager type, right? And then obviously he has the disadvantage of he does not have that skill set with his feet, extending plays, making runs and getting first down. He's not really that dual threat. He's not a threat with his legs. And we just don't know, is he going to be the type that goes out and wins games for you, or is he just going to be the type that doesn't lose? Kind of the definition of a game manager. Then you have JRP, whose advantages clearly are the athleticism. He is fast. We saw the highlights against LSU. He has breakaway speed. Clearly, he was able to play wide receiver. He rushed for over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns as a freshman QB in the SEC at Ole Miss. The guy is dynamic as an athlete. He can make those plays. He's electric. Those are his main advantages. Disadvantages is he that pocket presence? Can he make reads? Does he not hesitate? Can he make plays with his arm? Can he hit receivers in stride? Things that Keene has shown, a bigger ability to do. I think part of it you could say is Plumlee has a limited sample size. I mean, he threw for less attempts than he rushed for in his career at Ole Miss, even that freshman year when he was the primary starting quarterback. He didn't get a lot of throwing plays. Is that by design? Is that because he couldn't? We don't know. Then the last 2 years, he's pretty much used as a wide receiver, hybrid, running back type of player. The fact is he was transitioned to wide receiver, from QB. So he actually lost not only his starting QB role that he had as a freshman, but lost quarterback position altogether. So that says something, right? And regardless of that, he also is going to be rusty at the position, right? He hasn't taken a snap under center in nearly 2 years. He hasn't been playing the position. So that's kind of an inherent advantage that Keene has. I mean, he played it last year. So there's that rust. So right now, it just, like I said, it seems two opposite styles. Keene seems to be the better arm, better decision maker, a game manager, while Plumlee is the better athlete, the guy that can make plays with his legs. He could probably go out there and win you some games, but he may lose you some games too. As far as, my post today, I made a prediction that Keene is QB1. Here's my kind of logic behind that thought. First of all, I had heard some things that Keene does kind of have the better arm and is kind of in the lead right now. Slightly though, it's marginal. Like I said, anything can still happen. This is just my prediction combined with some things I've heard as well as quotes from coaching staff. I think, if you could kind of make a case for both in the sense of if JRP was going to be the starter, why wouldn't he have been named the starter already, right? I mean, that is, Gus's guy. He came in to make him the starter. Clearly had him transfer over thinking he would be the starter, or else why would you bring in a senior, like JRP without that? If he was the clear cut, like, okay, I'm going to go with him. Look, we play SC State in week 1. We don't need gamesmanship against an FCS program. The only thing I could really think of is waiting to the last possible minute if he knows that JRP is a starter, so to limit Keene's ability to transfer in a sense. Obviously he can transfer. This is the new way of college football. But if he, announces it a day before the season, Keene's likely not going to transfer. Most starting roles are already set at that point. It limits it, probably keeps him there for the year as the backup, emergency situations, whatever the case may be. So, but then on the flip side, if, Keene was the clear-cut starter, why wouldn't he have named it yet? I think there's more reasons for that, actually. Obviously brought in JRP, maybe feels bad, wants to give him more time. He's like, all right, hey, he didn't perform good in the first scrimmage or whatever over the fall camp so far. He wants to give him the maximum amount of time to really pick up those repetitions, get the QB back under his belt, and hopefully improve from an arm standpoint. That to me would make more sense. So I'm leaning towards that it's Keene, because if it was JRP, I think why wouldn't he have named him by now unless it was just the transfer thing? So doesn't mean that JRP still couldn't wrestle it back, but I think as of now, if a game started tomorrow, that it would be Mikey Keene as the starting QB. I just think that makes the most sense, that right now he has the lead and kind of Gus is trying to give JRP more time, possibly. And just the fact that Mikey knows the offense better, is making better decisions, is, better with his arm, at least of now, I think that can overlook the fact that he's not a runner, right? That being said, even if Keene wins the job, I still think JRP will be used in a lot of packages. He's too talented, whether it's catching, rushing, wildcat, whatever it is, he's going to be used somehow. He's not just going to sit on the bench. He didn't come his senior year here to do nothing. And it would be more than a Joey Gatewood role. It would be someone that would play every single game, whether that's, like I said, lining out in the slot or running or taking some snaps under center, whatever it is, I think he would. Also, the other caveat is whoever starts against SC State isn't necessarily the starter week 2 against Louisville, or whoever's the starter against week 2 of Louisville isn't necessarily the starter in week 3. I think this is going to be a job that is going to have to be proven every week, and you're going to have to earn and win that job every week until it's an easy decision to be like, okay, this is our clear-cut starter. We cannot go any other direction. So far through the scrimmage and through fall camp, it's the QBs have not been live, right? They are not being tackled. They're whistling at everything. There's whistles that stop. They're obviously have the red jerseys on. They're not taking true game-like atmosphere, game-like conditions. So I think that also factors into how Gus is evaluating them, and that he can't make probably the truest, most correct read until they get a scrimmage where they're actually, really slinging the rock, really in a game like atmosphere, if you will. So I think that's probably the other part of this, that, he wants to see them both in that atmosphere, because, in a situation where you're not getting tackled and there's no threat of it, I think that obviously does favor Keene. When you start to, when JRP, when you have people rushing at you, JRP can make those plays and show off what he brings to the table a little bit more. So there's also that caveat of why he probably hasn't made the decision yet. So I think it's going to come down to the wire. I think Keene has the edge right now, and my projection is based off of if the season started tomorrow. But since there's still 3 weeks left, I still think it's anyone's game. Anyone can win this job. It's up in the air. It's very tight. It's as close as 50-50 as possible.